Hi, I'm Rodney Donahue, and I'm about to begin dismantling Season 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation by talking about the worst episodes of Season 2.
The fact is,
Before I get started dismantling episodes of Season 2, I want to get one thing out of the way first. Shades of Grey.
You can get out of my hair.
I only have 10 things to say about Shades of Grey, and after I talk about them, I'm never talking about Shades of Grey ever again.
Let's proceed.
Number 1, Shades of Grey is not really an episode of Star Trek, right?
I don't think this is my style. Shut up, kid.
Number 2, Shades of Grey is the ultimate example of the mismanagement of the first 2 seasons of Star Trek The Next Generation.
it is possible.
Number 3, Shades of Grey is an important Star Trek experience because it shows the lowest possible bar that a Star Trek episode can have.
My best may not be good enough.
Number 4, Shades of Grey includes a 17-minute Jonathan Frakes highlight reel. Number 5, the most startling thing about Shades of Grey is that it has 3 writers? How is that possible?
You're still here?
Number 6, Shades of Grey ends with a good joke.
Of course I know who I am. I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise.
I'm delighted that you're feeling better, Captain.
More than I can say for unnatural selection.
The men and women of the USS Lantry paid with their lives.
Number 7, at least Shades of Grey includes great clips from other episodes of Star Trek.
I don't think this is my style. Shut up, kid.
Number 8, O'Brien makes fun of Pulaski.
I hope these are the right coordinates. Just kidding, Doctor.
Number 9, Pulaski can't take a joke.
Just kidding, Doctor. I know how much you love the transporter.
About as much as I love comical transporter chiefs.
And number 10, Troi has to convince the chief medical officer of the Enterprise to save her patient's life.
But I don't know if he can withstand it. He's extremely weak.
Do we have a choice?
No.
Pulaski is the worst, and this is her next generation send-off. So let's talk about her very awful first episode, The Child.
I don't mean to be indelicate.
Unpacking The Child is going to be a labor-intensive process. Initially, I was going to talk about The Child, Up the Long Ladder, and Manhunt, but after going through The Child, I really only have time to talk about that one right now. I will get to Up the Long Ladder and Manhunt at a later date, but today I can really only deliver to you The Child.
Now,
Doctor.
The Child is a science fiction version of the virgin birth. Troi gets impregnated by an energy ball, has the child, it grows exponentially until it sacrifices itself to save the lives of everyone on the Enterprise. It's laid in a tomb at the end, and it ascends into the heavens of space. The Child is also a colossal blunder. Right at the beginning, the energy ball does not impregnate Chest Hair Man. And that's really the episode that I want to watch.
Mixed feelings for all of us.
There are 3 plot lines in The Child, and we need to start with Story A, Troi's pregnancy.
Counselor Deanna Troi is pregnant.
We are treated to one of the most uncomfortable and arguably most sexual shots in the history of Star Trek as we watch the energy ball impregnate Counselor Troi. It's a long take, and it is unnecessarily long for an alien that speeds through the Enterprise and gallivants through the cosmos. A major player in The Child is Dr. Pulaski, who is introduced to the audience in this episode in all of the worst possible ways.
By the way, what is our new doctor?
Pulaski meets with her patient instead of reporting to Picard when she gets aboard the Enterprise.
I want you and Dr.
Why doesn't Picard know the name of his chief medical officer? He only needs to remember like 10 people.
Sickbay, this is the captain.
On the bridge, Picard chastises Pulaski because she's in 10 forward.
Few hours on board, and already she's found 10 forward.
So what? Why does it matter if she goes to the best viewing port and social hub on the ship?
Not the best way to meet your new captain.
Picard decides to head to Pulaski, and we are weirdly reeled into Story B when Wesley very awkwardly enters the bridge and loops back into the turbolift with Picard. It is a highly choreographed and unnatural acting moment that is rarely seen on TNG. But the Enterprise cast members aren't the best when it comes to going into turbolifts. There's not much to say about Story B, so I'll go ahead and just say it all now. Wesley is supposed to go with his mom, but he wants to stay on the Enterprise.
I want to remain on the Enterprise.
For most of the episode, Wesley doesn't tell us what he wants, but 30 minutes in, he meets with Guinan in her first TNG appearance, and she convinces Wesley to stay on the Enterprise. The end of the episode is devoted to the crew of the Enterprise allowing Wesley to stay aboard.
Thank you, sir. I know she'll agree.
So even though there are 2 children, Wesley and the Entity, this episode is called The Child. So, back to plot A.
Where is our new doctor? She reported in?
Not yet.
Pulaski failing to report to Picard is the first in a series of incidents in which the creators pit Dr. Pulaski against other characters on the Enterprise. In this episode, she is insubordinate, incompetent, and disrespectful to our major characters.
Guinan,
Captain?
where is Dr. Pulaski?
So Picard visits 10 forward, and instead of the audience being introduced to Guinan, Guinan just points. At this point, Guinan is just a random TNG character that we don't know.
It's what I'm expected to do. Don't you always do what's expected?
One of the major problems with this episode is trying to introduce both Pulaski and Guinan, but it's what they chose.
Dr. Catherine Pulaski.
Right away, Pulaski interrupts her commanding officer, who she's never met.
Doctor, protocol may have been lax on your last assignment, but here on the Enterprise...
Sit down, Captain.
Pulaski says, "You must be Captain Picard. What about reading his service record?"
Knew your service record backward and forward. Apparently, she's been an admirer of yours for some time.
His service record didn't include a picture? Then, in back-to-back moments, Pulaski gives her commanding officer an order.
But here on the Enterprise...
Sit down, Captain. You'd better listen to this.
Why is such a sensitive matter like Troi's Immaculate Conception being discussed in 10 forward? Shouldn't Pulaski and Troi be in Pulaski's office in sickbay? Why are they in 10 forward? So that we see 10 forward?
Counselor Deanna Troi is pregnant.
Picard holds a conference about Troi's pregnancy, and Riker doesn't care about the amazing gestation period. He wants to know who the father is. Troi describes it as an alien presence.
A presence entered my body.
In a very sly move, the production team adds a heartbeat sound, and external echoing of the dialogue to focus on Troi as Worf and Data debate aborting Troy's baby.
Captain, obviously the pregnancy must be terminated.
Worf argues abortion is the safest course of action for the ship. Data wants to allow it to develop naturally for study. But Worf explains that the fetus, once it's aborted, will be available for Data to study. Troi chooses to have the baby, so Picard ends the meeting.
I'm going to have this baby.
The discussion is over.
It's nice that the alien is magically taking care of Troy's body.
I should be feeling uncomfortable with all the changes in my body.
I can only imagine the stress on Troy's skin and the stretch marks she'd suffer during a 48-hour pregnancy. Troi would have to show some kind of physical change, so this just doesn't make sense. It feels more like a prank by Q, where at the end everything is going to turn normal again.
But I don't. I feel fine. Better than fine.
Around this time, we are introduced to probably the weirdest guest on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, good. Let's get going.
Excuse me, to whom am I speaking?
To whom are you speaking?
He's not the worst actor that they've had, but he's certainly an odd one. And Hester Delt is part of the C story of the child, Geordi's containment project.
Each of these units will have total environmental control. Gravity, temperature, atmosphere, light, all in a protective stasis field.
So in addition to the introduction of 3 people we've never met, Geordi and Worf change shirts, and Geordi becomes chief engineer.
Chief engineer.
In The Child, Geordi's job is to contain some dangerous material that they need to stop some kind of plague or something.
There has been an outbreak of an unclassified plasma plague in the Rocelli system.
The materials are really dangerous, and if they are not contained, they will kill everyone aboard the Enterprise.
Captain, we have a malfunction in the containment area.
How serious?
Very.
Geordi's first assignment is a bit rocky. He is not able to contain the dangerous materials, and all non-essential personnel are evacuated to the saucer section.
I can't even isolate the cause of the problem.
So back to the A story.
Will you help me get to sickbay?
It's time for the baby to arrive, and Pulaski is ignorant of Picard's orders about the baby and security.
Worf, assemble your security team in sickbay.
Is that necessary?
Yes, Doctor. Captain's orders.
Well, it's strange to need armed guards in a delivery room.
Has she not paid attention to what was going on in the last 48 hours? An alien is trespassing aboard the Enterprise and entered Troy's body. Then Pulaski says the dumbest line in Star Trek history.
Oh, in my other deliveries, except for a couple, the father was always present.
In my other deliveries, except for a couple, the father was always present.
Oh, in my other deliveries, except for a couple, the father was always present.
Why does she say this? She knows there isn't an actual partner.
Except for a couple, the father was always present.
She apparently has delivered without fathers, probably not unusual in Starfleet or in the 24th century.
Difficult under the circumstances.
Any staff member can hold a hand or hold a leg up so that she can deliver.
Oh, in my other deliveries, except for a couple, the father was always present.
I feel stupid having to unpack this line. It is the dumbest line. I'm going to read it again. In my other deliveries, except for a couple...
Perhaps I could serve in that capacity.
Pulaski instantly rejects Data's proposal to serve in the traditional role of the father during the birth.
Counselor Troi is going to need the comfort of a human touch and not the cold hand of technology.
Again, just another instance in which Pulaski is pitted against characters we already like, and for no reason other than to create some form of drama.
Not the cold hand of technology.
What does Pulaski stand to gain by saying this?
I think Commander Data will do very nicely.
Your choice.
In any case, Troi lets her friend Data take on the duties traditionally attributed to the father, while Riker watches the life he rejected from the back of sickbay. Troi says she's felt no pain.
I have felt no pain.
None?
No, none at all.
And women everywhere shut off the episode. It is obviously a very clean birth since there's no biohazard receptacle underneath Troi to collect any placenta, blood, or excess fluids. So why does Dr. Pulaski have to wipe the baby off? Concerning Troy's body, the comment is made that it is as if the incident never happened.
I would not be able to tell she had a baby or had ever had a baby.
How is this possible?
There was no pain, no trauma.
How? The alien repaired everything inside her? What, magically?
It was as if the incident never happened.
For some reason, we are so distant from Troi during this episode. It's a very odd directorial choice. I don't think it's the writing. Marina Sirtis' performance is fine, it just feels a bit off. As with most episodes in the first and second season, we tend to follow Picard. Unfortunately, in The Child, Picard's role in each of the three stories really is just peripheral.
It's time I paid my respects. Mixed feelings for all of us. Data, how long before we begin the transfer?
Picard and Pulaski check in on Troi, and I don't know why they are surprised by the child's growth.
Baby, my goodness.
I'm a little surprised that Worf isn't there watching.
Where was ship security?
And that Troi hasn't reported it.
Say hello to Captain Picard.
I guess she chose family over work? Not like Dr. Crusher.
You mean he can talk?
Picard is also shocked the child can talk. Remember, this is an alien, not a baby. Why is everyone forgetting that they're on Star Trek? Troi acts distant. Why? Because she's tired of everyone judging her strange, quick-growing alien offspring that trespassed on the Enterprise 4 days ago? The child sticks its finger in the soup. Why would the replicator create something that couldn't be eaten immediately? Why is it even a temperature that could burn his finger?
He allowed himself to be burned.
For the experience.
Let's return to the C story for a moment, Geordi's containment project.
I am unfamiliar with this symbol.
It indicates a genetically engineered biological life form.
Pulaski asks Data about the medical symbol. Why doesn't Pulaski know the symbol?
Data, look at this.
Data.
Data and Pulaski argue about Data's name because Pulaski doesn't think that it's important to know people's names.
That's all right, Data. Data. Whatever.
I'm actually okay with her saying Data and then Data, correcting herself. But why does she say whatever?
Whatever.
Because she didn't learn anything? She should call people by their names.
Whatever.
Just to be clear, Pulaski has been incompetent twice, disrespectful twice, and insubordinate thrice. This is her first episode.
Whatever.
The transportation process of this dangerous material seems very complicated. I like how earlier in the episode, Riker cannot believe that it's taking so long.
Sickbay, this is the bridge. We are ready to begin loading.
And then later he changes his tune when he sees how difficult the process is, so that Geordi keeps everyone on the ship from getting killed.
You'll inform me when loading is complete and the cargo secure?
Aye, sir.
What is Riker doing before Picard comes onto the bridge? Just another strange directorial choice for the child.
How serious?
Very.
There's a malfunction in the containment area, and Riker, Pulaski, and Data are all urgently needed in the cargo bay. So we cut to Wesley and Guinan to introduce Guinan now in Story B to cut away from the excitement.
We're having a little difficulty on cargo deck 5. Your presence is requested.
I'm on my way.
You never talk about yourself.
This was some masterful editing. So let's wrap up the child, shall we?
It's me, Mommy. I'm the reason.
The alien is producing radiation causing the containment malfunction, so the entity decides to end his own life.
I have to leave you now, or it'll be very bad for everyone.
What are you saying?
I understand Troy's reaction to Ian, but this episode doesn't really give us the time to care about what's happening, and the director has kept Troi at a distance from us, so that makes it even tougher for us to care about her situation. So Ian dies, and no one, I repeat, no one comforts Troi. Not the doctor, not Riker, not the substitute father. No one comforts Troi. This episode should be called Who Counsels the Counselor?
Who counsels the counselor?
Thanks, Devanoni Rall.
And I'm Devanoni Rall.
And at the end, in Story B, Troy's back to normal while they discuss Wesley staying aboard the Enterprise.
I will accept that responsibility.
It was as if the incident never happened.
Worf makes a fun joke, and then Picard decides that Riker should be the one to mentor Wesley through this teenage period of his life.
It's my belief, number one, that you're best qualified to supervise that. Are you willing to serve?
Even though just a year ago, Riker tried to transform Wesley into a drinking buddy to skip the teenage years entirely. And then thankfully, and perhaps improbably, this giant mess of an episode finally ends. But this is not the only terrible Season 2 episode. And it's not even the only terrible Season 2 episode with 3 storylines.
You would have suffocated and died.
But I don't have time to get into that now, so I'm Rodney Donahue, and I have delivered the child.
In my other deliveries, except for a couple, the father was always present.